Okay, so in this research project, what we're trying to do is find some ways that the stuff we've learned in this class is being applied to real world situations. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate that we have some understanding of how motions of objects and systems, etc., okay, can be utilized for kind of societal benefit. All right, so you have 3 topic choices. Choose one. Don't try to do a report that goes over all 3. Choose one and only one of those 3 topics. Okay, so the topic choices are: you can analyze the design of automobile safety devices like child car seats, airbags, okay, combined with seat belts, crumple zones, okay, and how they use dynamics principles to save lives. Okay, so you'd be looking at it from a perspective of Newton's first law, second law, third law. Okay, how are these devices trying to, use those things to save lives in a crash? Right. So your whole report would be on looking at how that works. Okay. Your second topic choice could be looking at the application of dynamics in investigating traffic accidents. Okay, how can accident investigators use physics principles to determine what happened in a car accident, and how accurate are these methods? Okay, this is especially important if nobody in the accident has a dash cam and no one in the accident is able to give them an account of what happened in the accident. Okay, there may have been, fatalities, or there may have been someone who is, unconscious still in the hospital or whatever, and they're trying to figure out what happened. All they have is the evidence that is at the accident scene. That can include things like the skid marks on the road, the final position of the cars, the extent of the damage, the location of the damage to the cars. Things like that can all tell them a lot of things if they have the specialized training in accident investigation and physics. And there's actually a whole crew of both like city police and RCMP officers whose training is only in that area, or is specifically in that area, so that they can figure out what happened in an accident. Okay, and then thirdly, analyze the design of protective sports equipment in terms of dynamics principles to explain and evaluate its effectiveness at protecting you from injuries. So you could look at, how, the design of helmets has improved, or, how does this type of padding work, or they, now they've got the stuff, the collar that goes around the neck for hockey players, protects you from the skate blades to the throat and stuff like that. Okay, so you can look at some of those, and again, from the perspective of dynamics principles. Okay, how does a helmet keep your brain from sloshing around inside your skull and getting a concussion? Okay, stuff like that. All right, so the project outline is going to work like this. In each topic, you're analyzing something. Okay, so you're looking at how dynamics are used to develop your technology, and then you're kind of evaluating how well they work. So you're going to need to show some data, not necessarily numbers or things like that, but kind of, maybe pictures or case studies, if you can find those, things like that, that help you to show that this is true. Okay, you should also show some of the math involved, so you could look at simple equations like we would have used. Like we talked about how this is the formula that's really important, okay, in a car crash, right? If time is bigger, acceleration is smaller. Is that good? That's good. Okay, so that's a simple, kind of applying what we know in terms of physics. And then you can, further apply that to Newton's second law and talk about forces and things like that. Okay, now you're also going to talk about societal effects here. Okay, what are some of the societal benefits of this technology that you're looking at? All right, if we're looking at, car safety devices, we want to go further than, well, less people die. That's good. I'm not trying to discount that that's not a good thing. Okay, but we also want to look at, all right, I wasn't in the accident. How does this benefit me? Right? I'm just a member of the same society as this person. How does it help me? Well, if they're not hurt as bad, they don't spend as much time in the hospital. Who pays for hospitals? Taxpayers. Everybody does. Okay, and so that costs us all money. Okay, insurance could be a big part of this as well. Okay, insurance companies are out there to make money. Okay, the more they have to pay out for accidents, the less money they make. Okay, or they just charge you more. All right, your insurance premiums go up. Okay, if you have an accident, your insurance premiums go up, stuff like that. So that could be a societal thing as well. Those are kind of things to look at. All right, so keep that in mind. Okay, looking at kind of economic benefits or possibly economic costs. Okay, for that kind of stuff, talk about that. Your report should be about 2/3 about physics and about 1/3 about the societal effects. Okay, make sure you're talking quite a bit about how does this help everybody, not just the person who was in the crash or who's wearing the protective sports equipment or whatever. Okay. Now, citing references. This is really important. You need to make sure you cite your references properly in a bibliography at the end of your project. Okay, so at the end of your project, you'll have a page that has all the probably websites you went to, or if you read books you did, okay, whatever. So you're going to have those in a bibliography at the end. They need to be cited in a proper format, right? For a website, it looks like this. All right, we have the name of the author. That's usually the hardest thing to find, okay? Especially in online articles. Okay? It's really hard sometimes to find people's names. You may have to, go back a little further, look at who contributors to that website are and list them as authors, things like that. If you absolutely have looked as hard as you can and can't find an author's name, then you may have to write something like, unknown contributor from Department of Transportation or whatever, okay, something like that. You need to have something written there. You can't just go unknown, okay, just put something, multiple contributors or whatever, okay. Then you need to have the date that the article was published, okay, that's this date here. Hopefully it's newer than that, because that's older than you, okay? So you just want to try and find some current stuff, okay? But you want to put the date the article was posted. Usually you can find that, okay? If not, go back to the website's homepage and look for the last day the site was updated, okay? And use that instead. Then you want to have the name of the article, okay? So that's the part here that's underlined in red, so the name of the article, and then you'll have the name of the website. That's this part here that's in green, right? After that, you will have the URL, so www.carcrashes.com or whatever, okay? And then after that, you will have the day you accessed it, so that'll be November 7th, 2018, okay? Everyone kind of follow me on that? That's the information you have to find for each website you go to. That includes any websites you take pictures from. All right, if you're taking diagrams or actual pictures from other websites, that's a source. Okay, you have to cite that source. Okay, you would just put in the photographer's name or whoever made the diagram in place of author's name. All right, you're probably going to have quite a few references. I would say 5 would be like your minimum, right? But you probably end up having more than that, especially if you start putting in pictures, which you should do. Okay, questions on the bibliography. Okay, that's 5 marks out of 25. Is citing your references properly. It's also the part that people forget to do or just get lazy on. Okay, if it's not in this format, you're going to lose marks. Okay, most common thing I see is people just write down 5 URLs. Okay, if that's all you write, you might as well write www.icouldn'tcarelesswhatigetOnthis.com. Okay, you're going to get nothing, right? If all you write down is the URL, I'm going to give you nothing. Okay, so make sure you have all of this stuff in your references. Okay, another easy 5 marks is planning. All right, I'm going to look for 2 things in planning. You have choices here. Okay, I want either an outline of your project, so slide 1 or paragraph 1, introduce topic. Okay, slide 2, talk about impact of accidents, blah blah blah. Have some sort of outline about how you're laying out the report. Or you could have a thought web. Okay, with your kind of topic in the middle and kind of branching out from there. Either one of those 2. Okay, you have to have one of those 2 things. And the second thing, everyone has to have this, is the timeline. Okay, record on there when you either plan to or actually do work on this project. So your first part of the timeline can be November 7th, Coderre explained the assignment to us and I got started on my planning. Okay, that's all you have to write. But I need to see a timeline and I need to see either an outline or thought web, your choice. Okay, that's 5 easy marks. You'd be surprised how often people just forget to include that. Okay, and it's the easiest 5 marks on the whole assignment. Okay, so make sure you have thought web or outline and a timeline. Okay, for the format, okay, I've included in that assignment there a Google Slides or a Google Doc, your choice, whichever one you want to use, doesn't matter to me, okay, whichever way makes most sense or you like to use whichever, okay, whichever one you don't use, just delete that one, just submit the one you want me to mark, okay. Now, a couple of things here about when we're doing our research, okay, remember that reading somebody's article and going, oh, I really like that paragraph, copying and pasting it into your thing is not research, okay, that's plagiarism. We don't do that, okay? We want to okay, I read this, I'm going to summarize it in my own words, and now I'm going to, kind of put that on paper instead. Okay, remember that that's what you need to do here. You're not learning anything or accomplishing anything by just copying and pasting somebody else's stuff. Okay, and unfortunately, if you get caught doing that, then it means you get a 0 on this. Okay, and that's nothing compared to what happens to you in university if you get caught plagiarizing. Okay, I had a guy who was in the same dorm as me in second year, and he got caught plagiarizing, and he got tossed completely out of university. No refund on his tuition either. Okay, that was yeah. And it follows you around like a criminal record too. Every time he applied to a new place, they knew that he had gotten kicked out for plagiarism from U of A. So, okay, it's not a habit you want to develop. It's costly later. Okay. All right. Questions on that stuff there so far? Okay. So the scope of this, guys, okay, looking at, like, it says 800 to 1,000 words here. You're not going to get 100% if you've only got 800 to 1,000 words. It's pretty hard to do a great job of this, but that would be like the bare minimum that would probably allow you to pass. Okay, you want to do a good job of this, you're probably looking more like 1,500 to 1,800 words. Okay, that's about 2 pages in a Google Doc with the default settings. Okay, so that's about what we're looking for there. The slides, it's hard to give you a number on slides. It all depends on how many words you put on a slide. My recommendation is if you're doing Google Slides does not do a word count. So you might want to type in all your stuff into Google Docs and then take it a piece at a time into Google Slides from there. At least then you get a word count. You know how many words you have. Okay. All right, so the 5 categories you're going to get marked in. Your planning, which we already talked about, outline or thought web, and a timeline. That's what goes there. That's 5 marks. Okay, analysis and interpretation. I'm reading your stuff. Okay, and you're talking about the physics of it. You're using good terminology. The conclusions you're drawing are good. That's 5 marks. Okay, communication. Again, this is how well are you making this sound like a scientific paper. Right? Are you using, again, good scientific terminology? Are you referring to concepts we talked about in class? Okay. Are there a ton of spelling mistakes? Is it one long sentence? Don't laugh. I've actually had that. Okay. A 1,500 word sentence. There was a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end. It's crazy. Okay, stuff like that. So that's all communication. All right, research and investigation. That's your bibliography. Make sure it's in the right format. Minimum 5 references. And overall, okay, when I'm looking at it, is it laid out nicely? Do you have diagrams that are supporting what you're talking about, near what you're talking about, and things like that? Okay, versus I have all this stuff, and at the end there's 5 pictures, and I'm supposed to remember what those pictures deal with. Okay, the layout and things like that is all part of the overall mark. Okay, so it's out of 25 in total. Questions? All right, so like I said, due date is, I think I have the 26th, right? Yeah, 26th. Okay, so November 26th, the due date for that. So it's a ways off, but you can get a good start on it today and Tuesday. All right. Okay, have at her.